Hey, what's up you guys? You're watching Team APS, and in today's video I'm going to be giving you 5 retro spell cards that aren't really played anymore, and it's a bit of a shame. So last week I gave you guys 10 retro Yu-Gi-Oh monsters, but I can only really think of 5 retro spells. I mean, there are obviously going to be a lot that I missed, but these are the ones that came to mind, and at the end of the video you can share the ones that you remember. Also remember that you can win one of 3 Yu-Gi-Oh! Chibi playmats at the end of this month. So let's get started. First card is My Body as a Shield. This is a quick play spell, and you pay 1500 life points whenever an effect is activated that would destroy a monster or monsters that you control. So this was a precursor to Starlight Road. When Starlight Road came out, it largely replaced this card, but this was useful because it could stop cards like Mirror Force and Torrential Tribute, which granted at the time were like at 1, but it could also stop things like Smashing Ground, Fissure, Hammer Shot. And when you're facing decks like Gladiator Beasts or Blackwings that had like, Gazaris and Icarus Attack, when those kind of came around, Judgment Dragon, this was a really useful card to stop a lot of that stuff, keeping your monsters safe. And although the 1500 life point cost was steep, this type of negation card was really pretty rare because remember, this was kind of at a time before there was a Fiendish Chain, before there was an Effect Veiler, there wasn't a Breaker skill, so this was oftentimes the way you had to stop something like Judgment Dragon or Gazaris. And an interesting interaction with this and Stardust was that you could even use this to negate Stardust's effect if it were to destroy one of your monsters that would destroy something. So like if you had a Breaker the Magical Warrior or an Exiled Force that was going to destroy a card on the field with its effect, and Stardust tried to negate it, and you could use My Body as a Shield and negate Stardust because Stardust was going to destroy something. So in that way, it was a really cool card. Next card is Swords Revealing Light. Another interesting one. Swords basically stalls you for 3 turns. Most people don't even think to run the card these days. I mean, obviously it's not that great anymore, but getting 3 turns to stall was a big deal back in the day. 3 turns meant quite a lot. Nowadays, obviously, decks can gain so much advantage and put so much pressure on the board, and you got cards like, Trishula and cards like Fire Lake that just kind of just bad. But, back in the day, having 3 turns to set up, 3 turns to kind of get back on your feet, regain advantage, come up with some sort of a counter strategy was a really big deal. And, if they wanted to get rid of Swords of Revealing Light early, then they had to waste an MST on it. So get to keep your other back row safe, and most players would wait those 3 turns out, which meant that you got 3 full turns of sort of a respite. Also, it flipped everything on the field face up, or your opponent's stuff face up, so you could like find out what they're running, things like Gravekeeper Spy and other stuff like that. You could flip that up. So really cool, interesting card. So the next cards are Smashing Ground / Fissure / Hammer Shot, and sure, we'll include Soul Taker, why not? Basically, these cards were really cool because they're just 1-for-1 removal spells. You just play them and a monster gets destroyed. And Soul Taker lets you pick, but really with all of them you could basically pick what you wanted to destroy as long as you knew what you were doing. And 1-for-1 removal at that time was really a big deal because Mirror Force and Torrential were obviously at 1, but if a boss monster on the field was giving you trouble, or just any like 1900 monster that you couldn't swing over was giving you an issue, you could usually use one of these cards and just easily get rid of it. Obviously, they're not as useful today because everything pluses when it dies or it doesn't die. So like either it's something like Tyrus or Winda or whatever that just can't be destroyed, or like it's a Burning Abyss monsters or Construct or something and it dies and it just gets like 50 cards back. But back in the day, when there wasn't such easy floating, being able to get rid of, say, a Thunder King or a Summon Skull, but in the really early days when like Summon Skull, you tribute summoned it and then like it swung over everything your opponent had and they couldn't actually generate any tribute fodder to counter it, something like Fissure would be really useful. Obviously, you don't see them anymore. Soul Taker for a while had a bit of a longer like lifespan because it made certain cards miss timing, like the Shining and stuff. But yeah, generally they're not really popular, but they were really cool because 1-for-1 removal was quite a thing. So the next card is Shrink. This was sort of, in my opinion, one of the classic battle spells, maybe just right behind Book of Moon. It had your opponent's monsters attack. Well, any monster's attack would usually your opponent. And it was a really useful card because, it changed attack, so it activated in the damage step. There wasn't really a lot that your opponent could usually do to that. and that was really useful. But also, the card was just a good way to deal with stuff without having to like worry about like really a whole lot of countermeasures. When I played Glider Beast, I liked the card. Just a free way to swing over boss monsters, and boss monsters can give you a lot of trouble. I liked it as a way to deal with things like Stardust Dragon. This card kind of lost relevance when things like Forbidden Lance started coming out that more or less fulfilled the same job and were a bit more flexible. But still, you know, Shrink kind of has a special place because it just was, there really wasn't anything quite like it. Quick play spells are really versatile, and that's what I always liked about them. And the last card is Scapegoat. So obviously this is the card that everybody likes because of like goat format or whatever, but Scapegoat was cool. It was another quick play spell. It just summoned your 4 goat tokens to the field, and that was really useful. But outside of that, they couldn't be tributed for a tribute summon, but what made this card pretty popular was that you could tribute them for cards like Destiny Hero Plasma, because it was like a special summon and not a tribute summon, and Plasma at the time was a really big deal. There were also other applications. You could use it with enemy controller, tribute your tokens to steal their monsters, or maybe something like Creature Swap. A bit less optimal, but you get the idea. And in a worst case scenario, it protected you from battle. And then when Synchros came out, you could use it for that. So it was really just a super flexible card. It's strange to think, you know, that at a point this card was at 1, but now, like, you know, it's clearly not really a huge problem card. But yeah, it's just always a classic. I think a lot of people remember this if you played Yu-Gi-Oh! And again, if you're into the GOAT format, then you'll know why this card's so powerful. So definitely Scapegoat. And that concludes my 5 retro spell cards. I'll also do 5 retro traps pretty soon, so look out for that video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment with your retro spells that you liked the most, because I'm sure there are loads. I mean, I had like runner-ups like Book of Moon I just didn't include in this list. But yeah. And subscribe for more Yu-Gi-Oh! And I will catch you guys later. See ya.